Welcome back to Cheche, the program where opinion counts. William Ruto, the Honorable MP for Eldoret North, is our guest this morning. And we've been talking about your political future, your political ambitions. And the last time you were at Cheche, you had told us, you insisted that your name would be on the presidential ballot. And so far, we spent a lot of time talking about, you know, the fact that you ceded that slot to Uhuru Kenyatta once you formed a coalition. But what would a Kenyatta Ruto or Musalia Ruto government do for Kenyans?
Good question, Uduak. Because really, that's really the basis of this campaign. I personally believe, and I will carry that belief to the Jubilee coalition, that we must make this election an election about issues that are close to the hearts of the people of Kenya. I believe very strongly that through the Jubilee coalition, we have men and women whose track record show that they can perform. We want to put that on record, that the shame of hunger in our country, we have the capacity to eliminate it. 5 million Kenyans today either sleep hungry every year, year in, year out. We even get food from the World Food Program. Yet we have the capacity to produce. If we were to supply fertilizer, certified seed, mechanize our farming, do irrigation, we will supply this country and we will actually reduce the cost of living in our country and be able to grow our economy, apart from making sure that Kenyans don't suffer hunger. Medical attention is a very, very critical element of MDGs. You know, as we talk today, millions of Kenyans still die from treatable disease, you know, and yet it is possible for government to assemble this thing. Anyang' Nyong'o has been mismanaging for all the years that I can remember, you know. The NHIF, the scheme, you know, universal healthcare scheme, it is possible in a well-crafted manner. The mess in the NHIF need to be removed so that we can provide an avenue for Kenyans, those who are not employed. The government should be able to pay for them between 200 and 300 shillings every month. Mutegi Njau, who earns a good salary, should be able to pay 5,000 shillings. That's not too much to ask. William Ruto, who is a member of parliament for Eldoret North and earns 800,000, should be able to pay 10,000 shillings. And we can have a medical scheme, well explained to the people of Kenya, well managed so that there is value for money. We can be able to have a medical scheme in our country that will make sure that every citizen, whether they are employed or not, can walk to a hospital, get medical attention, go through surgery, and walk home without paying anything. That is possible in our country. And that Jubilee will do. We want to bring on board millions of young people today whose knowledge, energy, expertise, talent are going to waste because we haven't created the opportunity for them to contribute those talents, their knowledge, their energy in driving the economy of our country. There is absolutely no reason why the economy in Ethiopia is growing at 12%, in Ghana growing at 13%, and in Kenya growing at 4%. We can grow this economy by double digits. We have a wonderful jewel in our tourism sector. It is only in Kenya that we have the wildebeest migration. It is only in Kenya that we have the cradle of mankind. So tourism is a very powerful product.
Why are
we can increase our tourist arrivals from the meager 1.5 million to 5 million in 1 year, in 5 years, and be able to create 5 million jobs. This is a reality of what can happen.
Mheshimiwa, you've been in this government. You're talking like somebody who just landed here. You were in government, you know how it functions. Are you saying these ideas could not be implemented for the duration you're in government? And why? And who do you blame for? And who do you blame for all these things you're saying?
Makali, I have been in government cumulatively I mean government in terms of decision making, right? You know, when you are a minister, you are in a position to make decisions, right? Cumulatively for about 2 years. I was in Nyayo's government for 2 months. I was in this Grand Coalition government for a year, short of 2 years, right? And my record speaks for itself, my friend. You know, I have really no apologies to make, and I'm very proud of
the question is not, I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying, in the functioning of this government.
Let me just say,
yes.
And I demonstrated,
yes,
you know, in that short time, that indeed it is possible to eliminate the shame of hunger in our country. You know, I demonstrated, and that's why I'm telling you, we are prepared to carry that kind of performance into the Jubilee government next year. And what I'm saying is this, Makali. You know, many people told me, William Ruto, you know, in fact, I had problems with my staff. You know, this irrigation program in Tana and Hola, you know, Mheshimiwa, I don't think this is possible. You know, it's been dead now for 20 years. I told them, you know, that's a lot of crap. And let me tell you, in a record 1.5 years, those programs that had died for 20 years were up and running, and the challenge that we ended up facing is how to store the produce that we made. So what am I saying?
Let me ask you,
I am not talking of something that I had. I am not talking of phantom. I am not talking of things in space. I am talking of reality. I have done it myself. Therefore, I'm talking from experience. And I am telling you.
I just want to ask a question.
Yes.
You know, further to what you are saying. Why is it then that some ministers or some portfolios cannot deliver on the things you're saying? Is there normally the budget? What is the role of Treasury in releasing the money? What's the role of the president in all these things?
Leadership.
Yeah.
Leadership, my friend.
Because it cannot be that William Ruto goes into the Ministry of Agriculture today and all the things he wants done get done. Somebody else goes in there and those things are not done.
Leadership. Leadership. Let me tell you, Kenya is a country of tremendous potential. Leadership. And the only difference between Kenya and Malaysia, which today gets 25 million tourists a year, the only difference is not natural resource, it is not anything else, it's leadership.
Okay.
And that is what we want to stitch.
All right. Okay, now back to that leadership. Why is it that with all these great ideas, you want to sit behind somebody else to lead you? Yeah. Why didn't you also offer yourself among the 3 candidates and say, okay, I'm running for president? Why did you chicken out? Or were you compromised? which is what people are saying. That Ruto was pocketed and told, you stay here, your votes are in the basket. Now let me face it.
What can a deputy prime minister do in terms of what you are saying now?
What do you mean?
Deputy president.
Deputy president. What can a deputy president do?
Let me tell you, I'm not just going to be deputy president in this government.
That's one designation.
It's going to be the power behind the throne.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying this government will be shared on a 50-50 basis until the entry of Musalia by the URP team and the TNA team.
What do you mean by
we will have as equal a say in the running of government as Uhuru Kenyatta and TNA. URP and myself will have an as equal a say.
That can't be true because that's not what the Constitution says. I mean, you're trying to run a government outside the framework of the Constitution.
You are living in the past.
No. The Constitution of this country is very clear on who has executive power.
Let me tell you, Makali.
We must have reference to that.
You are living under the old Constitution.
Oh.
The new Constitution recognizes a coalition government.
Yes.
The old Constitution did not.
Executive power rests with
the old Constitution, the president was everything. Today, the president is something, but there are serious institutions. The old Constitution, the president, the vice president was an assistant. Today, the president and his deputy are elected on a single ticket.
Yes.
I am not going to be appointed by Uhuru Kenyatta.
But I beg to disagree.
I am going to be elected alongside him when
true.
he is being elected.
That is true.
So hang on, there's something
I am not going
that
to
you
be
just
his
said there.
stooge.
So, no, hang on. There's something interesting. Sir, there's something interesting you just said there. You are going to be elected alongside Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes.
So essentially, Musalia Mudavadi is out of the coalition.
No, I'm saying, he was talking to me in the previous arrangement. If we go to a nomination process and our friend Musalia Mudavadi is elected in that nomination process, definitely.
The same
Okay,
applies.
okay.
Yeah, the same applies.
Now, you've
Let me-
talked a lot, sorry, just on the issues.
Have I?
The issues, because you talk about, food security, medical services, which all of you, to be quite honest, are talking about. But what we're not clear on is how you intend to go about ensuring that Kenya performs better in all its development or economic indices. What is your roadmap?
Let me tell you, Uduak, let me just mention even one more thing. Tell me for one moment why we don't have a standard gauge railway in Kenya. It's because we are playing monkey business with something called RVR. I asked my friend the Prime Minister, surely, can't we do this one thing for this country? The Chinese are ready. They are prepared to roll out a standard gauge railway in Kenya, which we can pay for the next 30 years. But because we are beholden to
Some people say it's not necessary.
people there, it's not necessary. How are you going to move goods and services in our country? How are you going to make sure that goods in Mombasa to Malaba do not take 14 days?
We know
they
about
should
all
take
of that.
an hour. They should take a day or two. I mean, surely. I mean, this is really.
We're familiar with those challenges. What is your roadmap
Let me tell you.
to addressing them?
We have 95% of our budget is funded by the people of Kenya. The allocation of that resource, getting value, Kenyans getting value for strategic leadership that would place every coin where we get the most benefit, right? And it will take a lot of strategic thinking. And I am very clear in my mind that we have the team that will make sure that the resources we have in our country, you don't have to go and import game. There is game in Kenya. All you need to do is to provide sufficient funding for marketing so that you can tap into the huge potential in our tourism sector. Strategic, investment of the resources that we already have. I would, for example, we have a serious challenge in Kenya about insecurity, Yet we put 50 billion shillings every year in our security purchases. I don't think we get value for it, yeah? And the Jubilee government will subject all security purchases to a competitive process and supervised by Parliament so that we get value for money. There is no point for us to buy a gun 3 times the price because we want to classify it as a security item. What is a gun? A gun is being carried by policemen all over in the street. How does it become a security item? Why does it become so difficult for us to tell Kenyans how much it costs to buy?
Okay.
Simple.
Let me ask you, we have 40 and over ministries.
Yeah.
The constitution says you should have 22.
22 years.
How do you plan to make that reduction?
Well, that's going to happen in one day. I mean, there is no magic there. All you need to do is to make sure you shift departments that are in different ministries and make sure that you synergize what they do. And it's going to be very good because we will now have professionals, who don't have constituencies to run, managing ministries so that they don't have to be in the village and attending this funeral and attending that harambe. They will concentrate their energy, their time in managing the affairs of the public in the respective ministries that they will be running.
That makes sense, but you haven't quite answered it. How would you streamline them? Would you, for instance, collapse the ministries that the Honourable Anyang' Nyong'o and Beth Mugo lead? I mean, where do you see the synergies?
Isn't that really?
It's
that's
really
really a
obvious.
crowley job.
Yeah.
It doesn't require a lot of thinking.
Yeah.
It's just to align ministries that are doing the same thing or near the same thing into one place and make sure that
Okay.
I want to take back Mheshimiwa, to something that really is key.
Yes.
We are in a coalition government,
Yes.
the grand coalition, and
Yes.
you know the chaos that has occasioned this government,
Yes.
paralysis, haggling, sharing, and whatnot. You are jumping us into another coalition very happily and enthusiastically in these arrangements of 50% sharing of cabinet or 30-30 and so forth. Now, the new constitution is very rigid on how things are going to be done in the next government. You will not have the leeway to appoint anybody as you wish.
Correct.
all these appointments to public office are going to be subjected to parliamentary approval and vetting. How will you
Don't you
then...
think that is good?
Good. I just want to see how you are going to reconcile your percentage sharings and whatnot in the coalition agreements with the requirements of the Constitution in terms of appointing people to these offices. How will you overcome this fact that, look, all appointments will be vetted by Parliament if you have to fulfill your percentages? How will you overcome that hurdle?
Makali.
The mechanics of it, of how it will work in the coalition.
Two things. One, the new constitution is a reality, right? And let me tell you, democracy, they say, is the worst form of government. But a better one is yet to be found, right?
Right.
And for us as a country, the next government, like it, you don't like it, is going to be a coalition government, right? So that's another reality you have to live with.
That is true.
Right? But still, whatever coalition it's going to be, it must operate under the Constitution. The Constitution recognizes coalitions, right? And therefore, it was well in advance thought that this was a reality and an eventuality that was going to happen. There is absolutely no issue when it comes to appointment. Either these men and women who will be elected into this office will meet the criteria set out by the Constitution, or they simply will not have the jobs, period. You know, whatever the coalitions do, that is their business. You know, what the people of Kenya will want is, if you're bringing a cabinet secretary or whatever, or a principal secretary, they must meet the thresholds set by the Constitution. If they have to be vetted by Parliament, they will be vetted by government. Whether they are being brought by a coalition government or whether they are being brought by a government controlled by one party, they will meet the same criteria. The criteria will not change, right?
Oh.
And I have absolutely no problem with that. I think it's a good thing that men and women who will run these public offices will meet the criteria set out by the Constitution. So I think that's perfectly normal.
Okay. We have to take a break now. When we return, we focus on the international implications of a Kenyatta-Ruto ticket. You're watching Cheche live on Citizen TV.